Interesting in How to Become a Person of Influence. He's talking about Thomas Jefferson, and how Thomas Jefferson, when he wrote a letter to somebody, it kind of sounds like a preface to the Declaration of Independence, which says that all men, what? Can anybody remember the first line of the Declaration of Independence? And it doesn't say that, actually. What it says is that essentially there's a natural hierarchy of men, and the natural hierarchy of men is based on character and skill. That's the natural hierarchy. What the forefathers were against was the artificial hierarchy, which is which bloodline you happen to come from. That's the artificial hierarchy which had been placed in Europe that they hated. The natural hierarchy of men comes from character and skill. See, the beautiful thing about America is that you can be born in almost any horrible situation, and you can talk about somebody who was and achieve greatness anyway. That's very hard to do in North Korea. How you're born is pretty much how you're going to die. In Iran, how you're born is pretty much how you're going to die. In this country, I'm not saying it's not difficult, I'm not saying there won't be obstacles to overcome, but everybody can think of somebody who did. Everybody can think of somebody born into any situation who overcame that situation and became great despite or in spite of it, right? So that's the beauty of this thing. And the reason is because there's a natural hierarchy among men and women. And the natural hierarchy comes to character and skill. And I think it's interesting that Thomas Jefferson was talking about character and skill, which sounds a lot like energy and execution, right? Because really it's just using different words to say the same thing. Your skill set is one part of you, your character is the other part of you. We always say you're hired for your skill set and you stay here because of your character. And he's talking about that as being a person of influence. Think about this. Have you ever known anybody who has high character with low skills? Sure, they make great friends, special friends, right? They're high character, they're trustworthy, they're good guys, they're good people, but you wouldn't hire them to run your company because they don't have any skills. They're good preachers. High character, no skills, right? They have those characteristics. Do you know of any people with high skills, no character?
Politicians.
That name always comes up, right? And I'll name one from each party. Richard Nixon, very highly skilled. Probably one of the highest skilled presidents ever. Problem with character issues. Bill Clinton, very highly skilled. Maybe one of the most intelligent men who's ever held the office. His downfall is his character problems. Right? His character problems. What happens with high character and low skill is they make good friends, not so good of colleagues. What happens with people with high skills and low character is they can lead for a while because of their skill set. But eventually their character comes out. Eventually it always comes out. They can lead for a while. We've all been fooled by them. Everybody in here has been fooled by somebody with a high skill set. But eventually, their character always came out, right? We've had someone here, we've all had someone in our life who we were fooled by their skill set, and then eventually their character came out. So the good news is we can each work on both of those two things. Are you lacking in your skill set, or are you lacking in your character? If you have a hard time influencing others, and by influencing, I'm not talking about selling. By influencing, what I'm talking about is people wanting to follow you. People wanting to do what you want to do. Is it because of your skills, or is it because of your character? Are you well, it depends. Depends on the person you're talking about, right? Some people it's their skills, some people it's their character. On your personal life, which is the thing you need to work on? Do you need to work on your skill set to do your job effectively and do this friend thing, or do you need to work on your character? Which of those two things is? And each one of us needs to answer that question individually. But I think that's an interesting distinction we can make. Last thing, and this we might as well end on a fun note. All right. I don't know how. I'm trying to think. There's two ways I can present this. I want to kind of surprise you a little bit. All right. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say this. Starting on this side of the room, we'll work our way around. We'll go very quickly. I want you to name one thing in your life you're grateful for.
My kid.
My nephew.
My mother.
My daughter. My kids.
My husband, my son, my mother, my relationship with God.
Okay. Now, when you were thinking of that one thing, what process happened in your body?
Nothing.
And when you were you depressed when you were thinking about that thing, or was it making you grateful? Right. There's a saying. Here's the saying. Happiness is not getting what you want. Happiness is wanting what you have. Think about that. If you want what you have and you're grateful for it, that's the definition of happiness. Happiness isn't eventually getting what you want, it's wanting what you have. That's what makes you happy, right? Because we've all been in a situation where that wasn't the case and we weren't very happy. If you're not wanting what you have, then you're obviously miserable. That's what makes you miserable, regardless of what that thing is. So I found this today. I was cleaning out my closet. I like Eminem. I didn't write a song about it though. Obviously most people don't know the Eminem song, Cleaning Out the Closet, but it was a really good joke. And I found this, and I think my wife wrote this.
Oh my gosh, what are you reading?
A long, long time ago. She probably doesn't even remember written this, just on a scratched piece of paper, and this is what it says.
She sunk.
I'm so grateful for my incredible husband. He has my back. It says rack though. My kids, they are so beautiful and incredibly talented. My mind and my ability to problem solve. My parents, they did all they could to raise 3 incredible girls. My health, I have the ability to see and touch and smell this amazing world. My dream home, my amazing friends who I adore for believing in me. Now, look at her. You see what I did to her state? See, it's all about being grateful. And so when you're in the midst of problems, when you're in the midst of hard times, those kinds of things, you can change your state instantly by going back to what you're grateful for. Instantly. If you want to take 1 minute, if you want to live every minute, you want to take 1 minute and change your state, think of the things you're grateful for. And what I like to do is start from the inside out. So I might say, I'm so grateful for my hands. Can you imagine life without them? Something we take for granted. For my eyes, the ability to see, for to be able to hear, to be able to, things we don't even think about. My heart beating 100,000 times a minute without me even thinking about it. That isn't even important to you until the day it stops doing that, or has a problem doing that, right? All those kinds of things. And work your way up. So thankful for my kids and my wife and my house and our ranch and Healthcare Express and the people I get to work with and this country I was amazingly born to live in and the air that we get to breathe and the water that we get to drink, Kevin especially. But you see that? That changes your state immediately. It doesn't matter what I was thinking about before. So your mind can only focus on one thing. And your mind will focus on the thing you train it to focus on. What most of us do is the opposite. What most of us do is we let the circumstances dictate our emotion instead of making our emotion dictate the circumstance.
Is that the underlying cause of stress?
It is. Let me tell you, I take patients every day who come in and say, I've got to have something, I'm so stressed. And I look at them and I think, what the hell could you possibly be stressed about? It's amazing to me that the CEO of a Fortune 500 company isn't under stress, and the janitor at Pleasant Grove is, and needs something for it. Really, the outside circumstances, what I'm trying to say is the outside circumstances really have little effect on what you consider stress. Stress is all in here. The outside circumstances, if that were not the case, the people with the most responsibility would also be the most stressed. As it turns out, it seems the opposite. The people with the most responsibility seem to have somehow learned how to handle it, which is probably why they have the most responsibility. The people with the least responsibility seem to be the most stressed and upset about it all the time. So, it's just something to think about. We'll just end on that, and that's all I got.